up against Leuenberger, Adcock, Black and Power. Underway in the second term. Cassisi, another clearance around the body in the Sean Burgoyne direction. Well played, McDonald, edged him out, gathered. Begley takes on Sean Burgoyne and wins. Power, McDonald, Adcock. Good movement from the Lions to open this term. Long kick in the Bradshaw direction. He's got it on 50.
It's only happened a couple of times tonight, but if they can find a little bit of space to kick into, Daniel Bradshaw is getting further and further in front of Toby Thurston's on the lead the further it went. They've got to exploit this matchup.
Already kicked one tonight, Daniel Bradshaw. Nice off the boot, but it drifts. Only a behind.
Well, coming through the middle was Jed Adcock, who's one of their most skilled and best performed midfielders in recent times, and yet he's only had just 3 possessions now. He needs to lift and find the footy.
Peter Burgoyne to Pettigrew. A look-away kick, almost to Thurston's, knocks it to his own advantage. Selwood.
Now, Troy Selwood, he's the man on David Roden as we speak. They both started outside of the square, and as you can see, he's been given the role. Get inside his jumper, stop him running forward.
2 biggest possession winners. We see a free kick off the ball here.
Chad told to go away. Free kick, of course, to his brother Kane, and he just wanted to let everybody know Big Brother's around, as if he was needed. Boak. Kane can look after himself. Surgeon. Nicely, but not so nicely with the hand. McDonald read that magnificently. Sends a long high ball, but it's Thurston's ball because Bradshaw is peeling back to the square.
The 2 big possession getters at the moment for Brisbane are Luke Power. In fact, Joel McDonald's just gone past Simon Black, but I was about to say Power and Black have had a bit of the ball, but you wouldn't know they're out there, Jared.
Well, they haven't had as many effective disposals as you'd like. It's breaking down, but right now McDonald...
Oh, what about that for a tackle? Sorry, guys.
Well, McDonald's lined up on Sean Burgoyne and he's attacking really well off that half-back line. He'll be Brisbane's best player at the moment, and you're right, that's a great tackle. He's pinned that arm. Could almost be a chicken wing tackle, Dwayne.
Well, kids at home should get a video of that. That is the perfect tackle. Pettigrew to Westhoff, who needs something to get his form going this year, and that tackle might do it. Boak held up, but a couple of options wide. Chad Corns runs into trouble. A Hooper. Tripp gets it back. Crowd want him to go to Cassisi. He does. Dominic was one of those options wide that was initially ignored. All the way back to Carlisle. Pettigrew. And now maybe the long bomb forward. Pettigrew hands it off. Surgeon. Chip kick in the Ebert direction. Left it behind. Begley. Handballed it to his own advantage and Adcock. To Jonathan Brown, a long way down in defence. Begley again. Pursued by Chaplin. Edged out of it. Troy Chaplin gathers. And with poise, he's a target hitter with his kicks normally. Can't hit Westhoff this time. He toes it inside 50. Leuenberger filling the hole in defence. Power. Trouble. Brogan. Palm down. Roden. He's best on ground. David Roden is a genius.
Well, it was just great forward pressure from Port Adelaide. Brisbane had the ball clear a couple of times, and yet they weren't able to penetrate the forward pressure. It was Luke Power, I think, who had the ball stripped from him. There's a nice little toe poke from Westhoff here. They're away, but Power had nowhere to go. Good pressure. Nice tap from the big boy Brogan. And there is a man that Richmond would love to have lining up for them at Fremantle next tomorrow night on Twilight Footy.
Well, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but when Richmond dumped David Roden, Greg Miller said he didn't think David Roden was going to be part of Richmond's next premiership team. He might be part of Port Adelaide's next premiership team. Brogan, Kane Corns, Chaplin.
I had to bite my tongue not to say something then.
Motlop's hand superb. Plays on. Wobbles it inside 50. Ebert clean bowled by Thomas has gone down behind play. Appears to have rolled an ankle. Ebert caught, and that sums up his season so far.
Yeah, he was running into space, Thomas, and he's just gone down.
It may be an Achilles.
Something went.
Yeah,
he can't move.
Got a bad feeling. it may be an Achilles.
Sherman to Jonathan Brown. Plays on. Surely a goal coming up here. It's all about the bounce. Bradshaw had to wait. Spins around and misses to the near side.
Well, that just about sums up their night. That was a gimme, a certain gimme, as long as the ball bounced to the handball, hit the target. But this is a more important story because I reckon this kid is developing at a rapid rate of knots. We all saw his tackling last week. It was the big talking point, but what was lost was just how many tackles he laid. I think it was he's laid 17 for the season.
And tackle of the year last week on Nathan Bassett, and hopefully he'll be okay, Matt Thomas. Keep an eye on that. Rowan Smith is on the boundary. In the meantime, Stephen Salopek has the game in his hands. Short to Modlop.
And the other thing that's developing, I think, and we saw it tonight a couple of times, the decision-making. Under pressure. Oh, no, he's going to the bottom. It's the spring ligament, which holds up the arch of your foot.
Oh, goose step.
Lovely to see it. Modlop's kick not as good as the step. Might get it back. Tredray's handball missed Cassisi, who holds it in and will get a ball up. 45 plays 16.
It's not the margin so much as it is the state of play and the nature of the game that is the most damning thing for Brisbane at the moment. There's the little goose step, the change of pace. They're not out of the game on the scoreboard, Brisbane, but it's just hard to see where they're going to pick up the slack at the moment.
Leuenberger thought he had it, but it's McDonald's ball. Short, Merritt. Held up by Warren Tredrea. And now sends a long bomb in the Selwood direction, and he loses his feet and knocks it to Roden. Worst of all possible options. Eben. He's got Modlop sprinting for him. Tough ball to grab. Modlop, Patful, Modlop. Can't manufacture something this time, Daniel Modlop, and we'll toss it to the boundary umpire. He was best on ground, Daniel Modlop, last time these two teams met, which was only once last year, and it was at the Gabba. And Daniel Modlop kicked 6 goals and received the 3 Brownlow votes. Black.
Got to start
into the midfield.
Some targets, so Brisbane are winning the ball better, but just giving it back.
Carlisle thumps it. Race on. Tredrea will get there. Didn't get there first. Well played by Lockie Henderson. Caught. Handballed up. Power. Dangerous handball to McDonald, who shrugs the tackle. Riscatelli. Got a couple of options to go to. Corrie can go all the way again here. Looks up, wants to pass off again. It's Jonathan Brown. Perfect.
There's the first couple of times they've actually managed to pinpoint passes. I was about to say the same thing, Jared. The thing that's doing the most damage to Brisbane at the moment, forget David Roden and how well Port are playing, is when they do have an opportunity, Brisbane, they're shooting themselves in the foot with poor skill areas. And some of them are coming from the likes of Brown and Black and Power, the star players, just missing a kick or a handball here and then getting a bad bounce, which causes the turnover.
5th possession for Jonathan Brown for his first goal of the night, and he misses. He's got up and down form against Port Adelaide. Jonathan Brown, mentioned earlier, 7 goals here back in 2006, but goalless in that 2004 grand final victory by Port Adelaide. Chip kick to Surgeon.
Again, that's it's an elementary skill error. 2 goals, 5. If they kick 5-2, you're only a couple of kicks out of the game. It makes such a difference.
Much better pressure, though, from Brisbane. They are just on the verge of getting themselves back in.
Selwood, Black, Selwood. About to get caught by Pearce. Dragged him down, holding the ball. Port Adelaide peel off here. And look out, it's David Roden time.
Who's on him, Jared?
Well, takes them on. Little step back in the midfield. Caught by Hooper. Handball off. Cassisi, Pearce wants to come back into the corridor. Wide to Chaplin. And now Tredrea from the square. Merritt with a fist. Leuenberger takes on Tredrea. Handball to Selwood. Line staying in it. Riscatelli.
He is exciting, Matthew Leuenberger. Terrific defensive work there to push back and help out.
Brennan.
Back 2 metres, Dean.
Garrett Brennan took the step around.
Well, right now, Jason, David Roden is 40 metres
on his own.
Chaplin, Peter Burgoyne.
I think his man's in defence somewhere.
Westhoff.
It's like a rugby union match at the moment.
Nice hands from Westhoff. Hands off to Pearce. No one to go to up forward. There's not a Port Adelaide player inside 50. Boak. Westhoff. He can shoot. Lays down. Gets out of the tackle. No one to go to, forced to go back, and Colin Beckley mops it up.
Just a big zone at one end at the moment. Brisbane have got about 12 players in defence. And Port Adelaide are basically spending most of their time trying to penetrate it.
Lappin to Patfull to Sherman, back to Lappin, back to Patfull, back to where they've got the numbers, as Gerard said, in defence. McDonald, Colin Beckley, now they're getting some players up. Power, short, Wade Mills.
This is the important kick. You can't play on until there's somebody up forward that you can give it to.
Power, hands it off, Stiller,
Otherwise that happens.
Pressurised handball again from Riscatelli. Back to Stiller. Port Adelaide getting numbers around the contest now. Can't hold it up. They do now. Ball up.
Gee, the opportunities are going to waste for Brisbane. They had numbers all over the place there. They had 5 on 2 and just a couple of slick hand passes were needed to release a player into space, and he runs into an open goal.
Jamie Charman and late exclusion for the Brisbane Lions, forcing Patfull and also Mills to do a bit of ruck work, and this time Mills does it, hands it off. Black,
Brilliant.
to Brown. Great kick.
I reckon if you're a forward, Simon Black's the #1 person you want the ball in his hands. His disposal inside 50 is flawless.
Jonathan Brown about to line up. Rowan Smith.
Just an injury update on Matt Thomas, Dwayne. He's just gone down to the rooms. They look like they were icing the bottom of his left foot, so Gerard might know more about that one.
Understatement to say they need this from Jonathan Brown. He's edged it through.
Well, the Lions needed it. Jonathan Brown needed it. The game needed it. So it was a win all round unless you're barracking for Port Adelaide. But this bloke just picks up the right option and generally pinpoints it right on the chest. Now, just getting back to young Matt Thomas. We saw him running just in a straight line, Jason, and he felt for the bottom of his foot. There's a ligament at the bottom of your foot that holds up the arch or supports the arch, and I suspect he's strained that one. Can't imagine he'd come back.
First goal of the night for Jonathan Brown. And the ball up. Oh, Brogan to Roden. Who's his go-to man at the moment. And he's too slick for them, and the pass superb. A little poke forward by Boak to Brogan. Peeled off after the ruck work well.
Leuenberger getting back.
Sean Burgoyne. Stewart. Cassisi tries to bend it around. It doesn't score. In fact, it stays in play.
Hit the
and
post.
Patfull forced to take it out. Goal umpire equal to it this time.
Actually came off a hand into the post, which is why it hasn't been called out before.
Corn's doing the ruck work now. Tries to gather his own crumb. Patfull, Johnston, hemmed in. Kick half smothered. West off. Daniel Pearce forced to go back to try and find a target. Corrie. Nice hands to Riscatelli.
He's lifted Riscatelli. He's had a good quarter.
Notting. That's not so good. Hands it straight to Stewart, who hands it back to Notting.
Good second effort.
Gets a Shepherd. Passes to Jonathan Brown. Maybe within range. 60 from goal. Goes long in the Bradshaw and Notting direction. Bradshaw.
Well, again, I know we've harped on it. If they can just hit a few more targets, Brisbane, every time they go forward, Daniel Bradshaw only needs a little bit of time to lead on Toby Thurston's, and he's in space. He went both ways then. Brown, the kick wasn't even perfect. It sat up a little bit, but he's got that much clearance on the lead. This is a real win matchup for Brisbane.
Geez, that was a great lead for a bloke who's had a knee injury.
Daniel Bradshaw has hit the post.
They could be right in this game. I mean, if they just lift 10%, if they can improve their skills 10%, Brisbane are in this game.
1 goal, 3 now for Daniel Bradshaw. Chaplin. Roden. Oh, he's forced to wait under that. Selwood takes off. Kick smothered by Kane Corns. Back to Roden. Chip kick perfect from Roden. Marked by Pearce. David Roden, 18 possessions now. Handoff from Pearce to Kane Corns. 18 possessions, and we're only 14 minutes into this second term.
Yeah, it was a push in the back to Kane Corns. And it was as he kicked it, so that's why it won't be paid down to your brother Kane.
Centering ball from Kane Corns. Jacob Surgeon. Peter Burgoyne just off the bench as well, waiting for it if Carlisle wants to give it to him. He spears the pass, his fellow backman Chaplin. Motlop's on the lead. In front. Got it. Too far out to score unless he goose steps. He pokes it to Treadray, who's within range.
It's a different Warren Treadray in 2008 than it was last year. He looks a lot more mobile, a lot more agile, and he's certainly got a yard of speed back. Looks a lot better the way he's moving.
And on the boundary line, Smithy, you've been following the midfield matchup. Selwood, is he the one going on to David Roden?
Yeah, Jared, I've been listening to you. You're trying to find out who's on David Roden, and it is Troy Selwood at the moment. So he's got to probably obviously tighten up a little bit.
Kickable here. Treadray starts it right, and it's all wrong. Behind. Breeze has dropped. Dean Brogan having a rest. 46-24. 16 minutes into this second term. Begley receives the kick in. But they're almost committed to a side now. Power and wanting to open it up, but Port Adelaide zone holds steady. Selwood. Port Adelaide players not manning a player, manning space, as you can see. And now the kick wide. Patfull and Westhoff dumps it out of play. The zone work for Port Adelaide.
I think that's where Brisbane just lack a little bit of hard running, just not enough options pushing into space so that they don't have to kick to a contest.
Free kick to Peter Burgoyne.
That's your back run. Stay there.
Lions flooding players back. Almost 15 or 16 of them now inside defensive 50, and that's why he didn't want to load up with a long kick and hope. Stewart, they'll try and set up a short pass.
Good pressure.
Good pressure. Sherman brings down Lade. Umpire said no prior opportunity from Brendan Lade.
Well, at the end of the day, Lee Matthews was forced into playing this super zone defence because they were getting killed, as we saw in the first quarter. So to bring themselves back into it, they've had to go a team defence.
Yeah, to their credit, they've turned it into a scrap. They've got themselves inside of 4 goals, and if they could just hit a target when they're kicking for goal,
good shepherd.
They're right in this.
Blacklap and Power and Notting combined. The usual suspects when Brisbane going well to Jonathan Brown.
Sherman.
And Sherman gets into space, has the shot from a very tough angle, and Chad Corns doesn't just smother it, he cuts it off to Sean Burgoyne, to Chad Corns. Dangerous kick. Boak made it look perfect. Surgeon. He's got Ebert wide, and he turns it over. Lockie Henderson. Pick 8 in last year's draft, Lockie Henderson. Playing game number 3.
Another very promising youngster. He's got good size. He's got a good tank.
And that's not such a good kick.
Not a good kick.
Pearce cuts it off. Peter Burgoyne. Treadray. David Roden. You wouldn't read about it, would you? He's a star.
He is one of the great footy stories, Brian. He's a colourful character. He's a bubbly character, an enthusiast. He'd be great in a footy team when he's playing well. And that's exactly what he is doing. Peter Burgoyne just having a stroll through the middle of the ground. His brother pushed up the back. And he's having one of his finest games as Troy Selwood just wanders in behind him.
He injured his knee in a game at Morwell. It was Terry Wallace's second game in charge of Richmond, David Roden. And he was best on ground before he injured the knee. And even though the game was in a country town, Port Adelaide just happened to have their chief recruiter there.
I don't know how long Lee Matthews can leave Troy Selwood there. He's either got to stick with him and tag him, a cold tag, take him out of the game, or they've got to change the matchup because Selwood's not getting it.
To be fair to Selwood, though, he has sacrificed his personal matchup. How far?
Too far.
Too far.
You can just take it away if you like, Jared. You're reading it well.
He has gone to put pressure on other players and has exposed himself. I mean, he's putting in a pretty honest effort, I think, Troy, but he's getting...
And he always does, but I think at some stage you've got to say a bloke now that's had 19 possessions and kicked 2 goals, and we're not even at half-time, needs a little closer attention regardless of what else is going on around him.
Greg Miller has run through. He would like to see tied up on.
Laid to Pearce to Salafica, got a kick to Roden. Possession number 20 for David Roden, and the Colt hero gives it to Brogan, who's got the overlap. Paul Stewart, who can go the journey. Pokes it in the Warren Treadray direction, forced to punch. No mark paid to Lockie Henderson, that was stiff. Hooper throws it out. Still trying to keep it in, even though they're making out, they're trying to get it out. And Daniel Pearce dragged down.
Jason, does the scoreboard reflect the match as we have a look at what could have been a free kick?
Look, they're probably lucky to be this close, Brisbane, given the nature of the game. But having said that, they've had opportunities to be closer, if that makes sense. So I still think Brisbane can turn it around if they can just find a lift in terms of hitting a few targets, and in particular their experienced players, and a couple more sensible decisions. They can come back and be very competitive against Port.
Carlisle's bump was untidy on Jonathan Brown, wasn't attempting to go at the ball.
I don't know if they can come back while David Roden still runs around getting 20 touches a half and kicking a swag in.
Now's their chance, because Smithy, you can tell us he's just been benched.
Yeah, he's just come off. He's had 20 possessions and he's just come off for a well-earned rest.
There he is, David Roden, who only took up playing AFL. He played rugby and AFL as a 16-year-old representing Victoria. Only took up AFL because there was no rugby team in Broadmeadows. David Roden. Brown, Merritt, Simon Black, Joel Patfull.
And as this happens, the zone is now set for Port Adelaide.
Brennan, wide ball, Riscatelli. Tough one to run on to. Well played, Paul Stewart. Got there, made the contest. Sean Burgoyne runs the line to his own advantage, and it rolls out. Ball in, 52, plays 24.
Wasn't a bad option from Jared Brennan. He looked for the longer ball, which was to Riscatelli. Great courage from young Stewart coming through, but again, it's just a missed target that creates the turnover.
And the ball in, 3 minutes from half-time. Chad Corns turns it over to Corrie. Slips the kick in the Mills direction. And he's not usually a kicker, Wade Mills. He's a handballer.
Maybe this can turn things around and he can thread the needle from the boundary and kick one that perhaps he's not expected to.
That's it now, Mark's here. Stay there, no closer.
Late inclusion with Jamie Charman out, and he has kicked a gem in the shadows of half-time.
I'm not sure what type of kick you call that, Jared, but
yes,
very
you know
effective
exactly
one.
what type of kick it
This
was.
is mongrel humble punt, wasn't it? But look, that's what they needed. They needed reward for some of their efforts, because it's been frustrating to watch Brisbane in the first half. They've had opportunities, but they've just shot themselves in the foot continually by missing the odd target. Have a look at the way this ball spins. Oh, that's going end over end the wrong way in the end. But a great result for Wade Mills.
It's how, not how many.
First goal in AFL football for Wade Mills in unorthodox style.
And the beauty of this at the moment is that as much as Port Adelaide have looked like they were going to blow them off the field a couple of times, I think they've just kept themselves in, as you said, Jason.
Now you're holding number 10's jumper here.
Brennan was in the ruck against Lade. Free kick to... Well, there's no number 10 for the Brisbane Lions, and the Lions players thought it was their free.
It's this way.
It is this one.
There's Matt Thomas.
Yours, you're being held off the foot. It's your footy.
Now Travis Boak's free. In the meantime,
Travis is kicking.
what did you call that part of the foot, Jared?
Well, a plantar fascia, or a little ligament that supports the arch of your foot, is
Laid.
Pretty sure he would have strained.
It's never a good sign when you've got the tracksuit pants and runners on.
It's been a long time since those physio days, Dwayne, but I reckon he's going to struggle to be fit for a couple of weeks.
Kicked quite a few goals in his 199-game career now, Brendan Lade. Kicked 158 of them. Relatively accurate kick.
Well,
2 goals, 3 this year.
As a ruckman, he's the best forward ruckman I reckon I've seen for 15 years.
Gives it a ride. It drifts in the breeze, and Westhoff! Been a while since we've seen that from Justin Westhoff. And Dean Brogan knows it.
Simon Madden was a genius going forward. In fact, he could have played full forward as a career if he wasn't such a good ruckman. And I reckon Brendan Lay could almost have played as full forward alone.
See what the problem with that was? Jared, I'll talk after the kick.
Westhoff gets to the goal that could get him back.
You always get disappointed from a defensive perspective when a mark's taken down around the goal line. Where was Brisbane's ruckman? At the time, it was Jared Brennan. Where was Jared Brennan? Standing the mark. He can't stand the mark. He's got to call someone else down, and Jared Brennan has to go down there. You've got Dean Brogan down there. He's matched up against young Henderson, is it?
Wasn't good.
Held goalless in the showdown last week, Justin Westhoff. Just his second goal of the season, his first goal of the night. From the ball up. Secondary knockdown, and Salopek's found Kasisi, but tackled strongly. Ball up. 2 minutes from half-time.
Well, that's the sort of tackle you look for from Riscatelli. That was a beauty. Just picked him up and turfed him.
From the ball up, Brogan. Down, Boak. Having a good afternoon at the office. Travis Boak can't get the handball away decisively.
Michael Riscatelli.
Okay, you heard. Riscatelli's free.
Michael, right here. Come out, Daniel. Stay there now.
Held up. Port Adelaide getting numbers back. Hooper forced to work with that.
Not who it was intended for either.
And that kick a little untidy, but Adcock makes it look okay.
Come out, Dominic. Play on.
Sends it long in the Bradshaw direction. Can't get a fly at it. Well played by Salopek. Body on the line. Forced to spoil. Peter Burgoyne to Sean Burgoyne.
Well, Salopek is a midfielder. He's about a 6'2.5" midfielder, so he's a big body jumping into Jonathan Brown.
Stewart, Peter Burgoyne, now Kasisi, Pearce, Kasisi. Nice movement in the model-up direction. Uses his body and his hands unbelievably. Short, and the man who virtually started it all with his spoil, Stephen Salopek, to Chad Corns, who started it all game-wise. His first 10 minutes superb.
Probably highlights the difference between the two sides as well. That little chain of foot passes from Port Adelaide. They just pinpointed one lead up after another and didn't miss a beat.
Not 15, which may play to Port's favour. Motlop sends it long in the dying seconds. Laid! Hands on it. Tries to get a toe on it. Johnston takes it through.
Keep coming. Number 5, Brendan.
Just need to make sure they don't turn it over from this kick. Riscatelli doesn't need a risky kick.
It's a good test for young Lockie Henderson playing on the resting ruckman forward, whether it's Lade or Brogan. And there's another foot skill. Is that Travis Johnson?
Well, he doesn't know that there's only seconds left. He might play on the siren. He doesn't. He holds it up. So Daniel Pearce, only NAB rising star of the last decade not to come through the national draft. He was rookie listed by Port Adelaide. Another one of the great football stories. Won everything he possibly could at the draft camp, the sprint. And they didn't draft him because he was too small and he had glasses. And he is a gun. And he kicks the goal to win the half. Port Adelaide started this game in magnificent fashion. They attacked it from the outset, and they finish it nicely as well. The Brisbane Lions clawed their way back into the contest, but at half-time, it's Port with a 35-point lead, 10-5-65 to 4-6-30.